Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam UiTM di hatiku. To recall everything, our group had chose a topic about inflation in Nigeria for ECO415 group assignment, and these are all of our group members, Dania Safia, which is me, Haslinda, Siti Aisha, and Azri Daniel. So let's move on and start our presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Dania Safia Widiana Azizi, and I'm gonna proceed with my part, which is the introduction in inflation in Nigeria. Inflation in Nigeria has been a persistent economic challenge characterized by rising prices for goods and services, which erodes purchasing power and impacts living standards. Factors contributing to inflation in the country include fluctuations in oil exchange prices, rate volatility, supply chain disruptions, and agricultural constraints. In recent years, inflation rates have surged, prompting the Central Bank of Nigeria to implement monetary policies aimed at stabilizing the economy. Understanding the causes and effects of inflation is crucial for addressing its impact on the population and fostering sustainable economic growth. Whereabouts Nigeria, a country in the center of the Sahel, relies 40% of its GDP on agriculture and has a poorly diversified economy. Due to negative per capita growth and rising inflation, which would increase the number of the extremely poor by roughly 1.1 million in 2023 compared to 2022. To a total of 14.1 million people, the extreme poverty rate is predicted to reach 52.0% in 2023. Did you know that inflation rate in Nigeria decreased to 10.20% in August from 14.90% in July of 2024? Inflation rate in Nigeria averaged 2.61% from 2003 until 2024, reaching an all-time high of 15.47% in June of 2024 and a record low of negative 4.20% in August of 2006. This is the original source from the Institute National de la Statistique du Nigeria.
And I present about trend and statistic of inflation in Nigeria in the year of 2022. Nigeria faced significant economic challenges, with inflation being one of the most pressing concerns. Firstly, annual inflation. The rate in 2022, Nigeria's inflation rate increased steadily, reaching 21.47% by December 2022, which was the highest in 17 years. This represented a significant jump from inflation rate of 15.63% in January 2022. So now I will go through about the rate throughout the year by month. First, in January 2022, the inflation rate stood at 15.63%. In April 2022, the inflation began rising more sharply, reaching 16.82%, driven by increasing energy and food prices. In the next month, which is June 2022, by mid-year, inflation climbed to 18.60%, with food inflation leading the surge. And in October 2022, inflation surpassed the 20% mark, recording 21.09%. And in the last month, which is December 2022, the inflation rate peaked at 21.47%, largely due to rising food prices, fuel costs, and exchange rate depreciation. Source of the inflation in Nigeria in the year of 2022. Food inflation. Firstly, food inflation rate. Food prices skyrocket throughout the year, with food inflation reaching 23.75% in December 2022. This was significantly higher than the general inflation rate and highlighted the critical role food prices played in driving overall inflation. Insecurity, high global food prices, and climate change were major contributors to the economic challenges Nigeria faced. particularly with food inflation in general, instability. Here's a deeper look at these interconnected factors. So firstly, insecurity. Insecurity, especially in northern and central Nigeria, had a profound impact on food production, distribution, and prices. The major causes of insecurity include insurgency and armed groups Boko Haram and ISWAP, ongoing insurgencies in northern eastern Nigeria led by groups like Boko Haram and the Islamic State West Africa ISWAP province severely disrupted agricultural activities. Farmers were forced to abandon their lands, limiting crop cultivation and livestock rearing. Next, banditry and kidnapping. In northwestern and central regions, armed banditry and kidnapping for ransom became rampant. This created fear among farmers, traders, and transporters, making it difficult for food products to be transported to markets. Next is high global food prices. Global food prices were volatile and reached record heights in 2022, driven by several factors that affected Nigeria. So, firstly, Ukraine-Russia war. The war between Ukraine and Russia significantly disrupted global grain and fertilizer markets. Both countries are major exporters of wheat, barley, sunflower oil, and fertilizers, all of which are crucial to global food supply chains. The conflict caused shortage and price spikes for these commodities. And lastly is climate change played a significant role in Nigeria's food insecurity and inflation in 2022. Unpredictable weather patterns such as floods and droughts severely impact agricultural productivity. For example, flooding in 2022, Nigeria experienced some of its worst flooding in decades, affecting more than half of the country's states. With this flooding submerged farmlands, destroyed crops, and displaced millions of people. States like Kogi, Benue, and Anambra, which are major agricultural hubs, were particularly affected. Which is higher import costs. Nigeria imports a large portion of its goods, including machinery, electronics, medical supplies, and clothing. When the naira depreciates, the cost of importing these goods rises. Imported items, especially non-food goods such as electronics, medicines, and industrial inputs, see price increase, which directly contribute to the core inflation. That is all from me. Thank you.
I will talk about the impact of inflation in Nigeria. The first impact is cost of living. The cost of necessities has increased significantly as a result of inflation, particularly food. Food costs are rising quickly in Nigeria due to the country's high reliance on food imports, as well as local supply chain interruptions, such as instability in farming areas. The next impact is informal sector growth. As inflation reduces access to official sector employment and goods, Nigerians' informal economy has grown. In order to deal with their financial difficulties, a large number of Nigerians resort to informal trade and services. But because the informal economy frequently lacks social safety nets and regulations, workers they are more susceptible to exploitation and financial shocks. Lastly, the impact of inflation in Nigeria is houses and real estate. For many Nigerians, especially in places like Lagos and Abuja, housing has become unaffordable due to rising urban property prices and rents brought on by inflation. Slums and lower class neighborhoods are now overcrowded as a result. Construction costs have also risen due to inflation, slowing down the development of affordable housing projects.
Now, we move to the next point, which is policies to solve the issue. To solve the issue of food inflation, it is critical to invest in agriculture by increasing access to key inputs such as fertilizer, seeds, and machinery. Expanding irrigation system will help reduce reliance on rain-fed agriculture, while improved extension service will increase farmer productivity. Ensuring security in agricultural zone is also critical, necessitating additional resource to protect farming communities, especially in areas plagued by banditry and insurgency. State and federal government should work together to create safe environment for the farmers. Furthermore, policies encourage domestic production of staple food will reduce reliance on imports. Investing in agro-processing can increase the value of agriculture products while reducing the post-harvest losses, thereby supporting local food production. Next point, to solve the issue of fuel and energy costs by reforming fuel subsidy is critical for reducing fuel and energy costs. The phase out or reform of the subsidy, which strain government finance, should be accompanied by targeted support, such as cash transfer and social programs for vulnerable population affected by raising fuel price. Furthermore, investing in renewable energy sources like solar and wind can help diversify the energy sector and reduce reliance on imported fuel. Improving domestic refining capacity is also critical to meeting local demand and reducing the need to import refined petroleum products. Furthermore, deregulating the energy sector by encouraging private sector participation in energy generation, transmission, and distribution will result in a more efficient electricity supply and less reliance on fossil fuel generation. So, in conclusion, Nigeria's rising inflation, which reached 21.47% in 2022, continues to worsen, posing a significant challenge to the country's economic stability. Addressing this issue requires a comprehensive approach, particularly in the agricultural sector, which is critical to achieving a long-term food security. By investing in local production, ensuring the safety and farming communities, and promoting sustainable practice, Nigeria can mitigate inflationary pressures and build economic resilience. These steps are essential to stabilizing food price and improving the overall living standards for its population. This insight contribute to informed decision-making, fostering long-term stability and prosperity for Nigeria's economy.